Hey fellow explorers, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 20 of the biggest trends that I see affecting your travels in 2023. Some are good, some are bad, but let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the first biggest trend that's going to affect all of our travels in 2023 are the prices, and prices of a lot of things are really up, and not just inflation around the world, but travel inflation. This graph that you see here on the screen, this is a study conducted by the US Fed Bank where they track average flight prices around the US to US major cities. And I'm going to make this big so you can see it for a moment. You look in about 2018, the average price was $265. It dropped down in the pandemic and it has shot way up now. And it's still on a downward trend, but I think 2023 flight prices are going to remain pretty high. And in fact, in June of 2022, that was the height where the average flight price within the US was $336. In November of 2020, it's come down to $280, but I think you should expect to pay more for your flights in 2023 than you have for the past few years, and certainly more than you have before the pandemic. Now, you can still find deals, particularly on routes, some international routes, here's the thing, from the US, particularly to Europe. Not that many people from the US are going to Europe because people are still afraid of border closures, COVID restrictions. We're still not out of the woodwork yet. And so a lot of people are really traveling internally to their countries. And that's where we're seeing a lot of expenses. Where we're also seeing a lot of expenses are on airline routes that still haven't recovered a lot of capacity. For example, flying from Los Angeles to Sydney in Australia, those prices this summer were like $4,000 a ticket. And while I expect them to go down maybe next summer, $3,000 a ticket, still the capacity of the number of flights that there used to be and the number of seats still aren't there. And so there's more demand than there are seats available, which is driving those prices up. Hotel prices are up too, most particularly in the luxury segment of hotels. Think the Park Hyatt, the JW Marriott, the Ritz-Carltons, where hotel prices in really popular locations, say like Hawaii and Maui, have doubled or tripled since their pre-pandemic times. So if you want to stay in a nice hotel, like a really nice hotel, expect that to be significantly more than it used to be. And points and miles are a great way to also save on these prices. We were recently in Palm Springs, staying at the JW Marriott in Palm Springs because Southwest canceled our flights to Arizona, so we went to Palm Springs instead. And the JW Marriott there was going for $600 a night. Crazy! Luckily, we had 60,000 Marriott points and saved ourselves a few bones. You could do the same. Now, the second trend you're going to see in 2023, it's also prices. These are prices for rental cars. The Fed Bank does this study as well, and I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. This is the average price of rental cars in the US, and with these prices, you can see in May of 2019, average price for rental car in the US, $140. At the kind of height of the pandemic, $260, and for November 2022, the last month they did the survey, down to $204, but still not back to where they were at $140. And the rental car companies, you know what? They like it that way. They like it to be expensive, and so because they make more money, I don't see these prices dropping down anytime quickly in 2023. So if you don't want to spend the money in a rental car, think about going a place that you can ride public transportation and you don't need to rent a car. Especially, I'm seeing significantly increased prices for SUVs and minivans because more people are using the rental cars, not just for travel within a city or at a destination, but they're using them for travel to get around instead of taking flights. And so expect to spend more, particularly if you want a bigger vehicle or just not finding them available. Make sure you book those SUVs or minivans well in advance. Speaking of advanced reservations, that's the third trend in 2023, which is advanced reservations being required everywhere. I mean, that's the headline of my number. Not everywhere, but a lot more places than they used to be. And these are things that places started as COVID restrictions, but they just decided to keep them in place. And you might say, well, yeah, I'd make a reservation for my flight, my rental car, my hotel, maybe my restaurants, but what else? hiking. A lot of hiking trails, national parks are requiring reservations. This is at the entrance to Diamond Head in Waikiki. You now need a reservation to hike Diamond Head. Really? You can't just turn up at a mountain and hike it anymore? Nope, you're going to need a reservation. When we were in Whistler, Canada, a few months ago, we went to hike Joffre Lakes, which are these amazingly like teal blue lakes. And we had to have a reservation to hike the trail to go to these lakes. And now what was the oddest thing about the reservation is you make it online and you show it on your phone, except there's no internet where these lakes are because there's no cell phone service. And so you need to like download or print it and bring it with you, because if you try to bring it up on your phone when you get there, well, no such luck. And so that's something you should really think about if you're going to any of these parks where you have to show a reservation. Make sure you actually have it saved or printed out or screenshotted. Don't be relying on internet to show your reservation at national parks or hiking trails. Also, a big trend at attractions is no tickets being sold on site. You know, in years of old, you might turn up at a theme park or a museum and buy a ticket right there, but I'm finding a lot of places won't sell you a ticket. We went to a bird museum in Vancouver, like an aviary or something like that, and couldn't buy a ticket at the ticket window. I mean, you could still buy a ticket, but we had to stand outside on our phone to buy the ticket because the person who stood there at the front desk that has a cash register that previously would have sold the ticket was like, nope, sorry, can't sell them. You need to buy them online. Are they available? Yeah, you can buy them right now, but you need a phone, which I think makes having a phone and a data plan even more critical when you travel, so that you can make the reservations, so that you can buy the tickets, because people just won't be willing to take your money anymore. Also, a big trend on reservations is like time tickets, where places will say, well, your ticket is good for 5:30 or 6:30. What I've found with most of these places that do time reservations is you can often go in after the time you've booked, like if you're late, but they generally don't let you in earlier. So if you made a reservation someplace to go on a hiking trail from noon to 1, and you showed up at 1:30, they generally let you on. But if you made a noon reservation, you show up at 11, then they're like, you're too early. You need to come back at noon. The fourth trend in travel that we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see a lot more transformation retreats. You know, the big focus a couple years ago was like wellness retreats, spa hotels, everything about making you a healthier person. Now, transformation retreats are about hotels, resorts, destinations, making you a different person or a better person, not just a healthier person, but overall a better person. And this is really connected to the notion of the experience economy, that when people go on a trip, they want to have an experience and not just, you know, hang out and waste some time. What are things that you might find at transformation retreats? You might find resorts offering packages to overcome betrayal of a loved one. You might see hotels offering packages so you can see what your body is capable of, and you'll find lots of these types of transformation packages being offered in 2023. The fifth trend that you're going to see in 2023, you're going to see less air travel and more train, bus, and car travel. Why? Well, I alluded to this one in the rental car section, number 2, that more people have discovered that airlines and airports are a hassle and are really unreliable. I mentioned we were trying to fly Southwest to Arizona last week, only to find out that like all Southwest flights, not all, 80% of the Southwest flights across the US were canceled for days on end. And we're just like, we're like, even if we did find a way to get to Arizona, are we going to be able to get back home? And the answer is we could drive someplace. We didn't want to drive all the way to Arizona, so we drove to Palm Springs, shorter drive, couple hours instead of 8. But I think you're going to see more people doing that. You're going to see more people say, well, instead of taking flights around at my destination, I might take one flight to get there, but then to get to my other destinations, I'm going to take more train, bus, car transportation than people would have before, which means those are going to be more expensive. You're going to need to make the reservations earlier. So if you are taking trains, make sure you get a seat and you don't end up being the last one out in the cold and having to sit on top of the train. Oh, and, related to, I think we're also going to see in 2023 a lot more people continuing to go to destinations closer to home. I've certainly found this to be the case in 2022 when we were in Las Vegas just last month. Pretty much everybody I ran into was from California. And I was like, so I did run into a couple from New Zealand, but I was wondering, where are all my UK explorers at? Usually I run into a bunch of folks on the strip from the UK, and I didn't run into one on this trip because I think y'all are staying closer to home in Europe. And then the Californians, they're not going to Europe. They're all going to Vegas. And Phil in the chat says he's flying to Miami on Southwest in 2 weeks. I wish you luck, Phil. I wish you better luck than I had. The sixth big trend we're going to see in 2023 is we're going to see, at least within the US and Canada, I think more places, but particularly here in the US and Canada, daily housekeeping being offered by request or not being offered at all. It's something that hotels never liked providing daily housekeeping because it's expensive, it's hard, and in days past, if you skipped housekeeping, you would get like a discount or you might get extra Marriott points for it. And now it's just not considered a given that people are going to come in and clean your room every day, or they're going to give you very minimal cleaning every day. And I've been finding that even when hotels do have housekeeping right now, daily housekeeping, it's just not very good. It's hit or miss. Case in point, JW Marriott in Palm Springs, $600 a night. Hair in the bathtub when we get in the room, not our hair. You would think a JW Marriott for $600 a night would have enough staff or enough resources to pay people to clean the rooms, but they're having to take as many shortcuts as they can with the staff that they have. And so, maybe bring a little extra cleaning supplies with you, or it's something, if you really want daily housekeeping, look on TripAdvisor, look at the reviews, call the hotel, see if that's something they're providing, or if they've decided they're only going to clean your room every 5 days. Alan says, less housekeeping, same resort fees. For sure, the prices haven't gone down. The resort fees are still there, just their expenses have gone down. Meritocratic Mafia gives an interesting point about the flights, particularly in Europe, that for some Europeans, it's looked down upon the travel by airplane due to the carbon footprint. And indeed, some European governments, like I think France in particular, or the EU, has said for government officials within those countries, for certain distances, they're not allowed to fly. They have to take a train instead because it's more environmentally good and green. The average Joe says, luckily, Yellow Productions is not getting more expensive to watch. There, good news, the price is still free, even with a lot of inflation, still free. The seventh trend we're going to see at hotels is we're going to see not just less housekeeping, but we're going to see less in-room amenities as standard. Case in point, JW Marriott Palm Springs. I'm going to give a lot of examples from this hotel because JW Marriott used to be known for having a lot of amenities in the room. The joke, if you've got all the soaps, the mouthwash you'd need, all the fluffy towels, all the fluffy robes, this hanger. This is how it was in the room when we got in the room. And I want to read you a little bit of what it says in there. It says, make yourself comfortable. And then basically in fine print, it says like, hey, if you enjoy this robe, wear it around. And, if you take it from the room, we'll charge you for it or something like that. There was no robe on that hanger. There was no robe on that hanger. This hanger should have a robe, but there were no robes in the room. If you wanted a robe, you now couldn't just take it out of the closet. Instead, you got to call the front desk for a robe because they're tired of changing the robes or replacing the robes in the room. It is easier for them, a bigger hassle for you. We didn't have any body wash as standard in the room, just the bar soap. And so I called to get some body wash, and it took 1 hour for that to get to the room. Some other things you're going to see less of in rooms in 2023, you're going to see the printed piece of paper or the binder that talked about the amenities in the hotel, gone. You're going to see the room service menus, gone. You want room service? Who knows how much it costs? You're going to find the mini bar prices gone, maybe replaced with a QR code that you can scan to see what the prices are, because the hotel thinks you're just not going to do it, and instead you'll take the Coke that's now $22 that you didn't look at the price for. But if you had a price, you looked at it, you probably wouldn't take it because it's expensive. You could scan the QR code, but again, you won't, and so they can charge you exorbitant fees while still pretending that they easily let you know what the price is. And more and more hotels I'm also finding are like getting rid of the clock on the nightstand. And so traveling with, some sort of phone or an app or something, you can see the time. I particularly like these phones now where the time just constantly stays on the screen. At least that way at night I can glance at it. I don't have to like tap it or something turned on, get some obnoxious lights. Michael, traveling the world, says hotels just want to cut costs due to inflation. Is it me? But I hate the QR trend. I hate the QR trend too. Whenever I'm at restaurants and they're like, oh, the menu's here in a QR code, I'm like, do you have a paper one? The paper one was much better. It was big. I got to see pictures. I got to see a lot of things at the same time instead of on my phone, and it takes 2 minutes to load, and it's a hassle. The only time I like the QR code trend is at restaurants where you can order directly from your phone. I do like that, particularly so you can order more food and you don't have to flag down any of the wait staff. Yeah, Hotel Productions TV says, what if your phone dies and you need to know what time it is? I hopefully you have a watch then that tells you what time it is. I mean, I always carry a watch where I go. Barbara says the room service menu via QR code, hated that too. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one. And Derek says, I miss the old menus as they're bigger to see and just better. Chris loves robes. Yeah, now they're gone. So no more robes. All right. John says, I feel the people who complain about modernization are usually above the age of 40. And I'll say, John, for what it's worth, because I'm above the age of 40, I don't dislike modernization. I really like the notion of app ordering. I use the Shake Shack app to order at Shake Shack exclusively because it's easy. They made it really easy to use. But there's so many places where it's so hard to use. You have to put in so much stuff. Like the Shake Shack app, you can, Google Pay to pay or Apple Pay. But the sites, you have to put in your credit card. It's it's so hard. So yes, technology, but let's do it right. Computer scientist, right? So I'm all about making it easy to use and maintain, which is easier to say, but hard to do. It takes effort. The 8th trend we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see fancy hotels actually focusing on sleep. That's right. And using their focus on improved sleep as a marketing tool or a tool to differentiate themselves. One of the things I do when I review hotels, every hotel that you ever see me do a hotel review of on this channel, we have stayed in that hotel, slept in that hotel, spent the night, and so that I can do the review the next morning, so that I can actually talk about the sleep quality, because to me, the number one thing about a hotel is how well can you actually sleep in this hotel. And we recently stayed in a hotel in Redondo Beach, California, here in Los Angeles, that has Tempur-Pedic mattresses for the beds. The really fancy $5,000 foam mattresses. It was really nice and quite comfortable. There's another company called Bright Mattresses, spelled with a Y. They're claiming to use artificial intelligence to adjust their mattresses to support your body and the room temperature to maintain deep sleep. And they're in hotels across the U.S., including the Four Seasons Beverly Hills, if you're looking to try out one of those artificial intelligent mattresses. I'd worry that the mattress might suck me in and bring me into the Matrix, but if anybody's tried out one of those mattresses, I'm curious to hear what you think. And then the Park Hyatt New York, one of my favorite hotels around, has created what they call a sleep suite, a special suite that you could book focused on sleep. What do you get in there? You get that restorative bed by Bright. You get that AI mattress, and you also get a diffuser with essential oils. They put sleeping masks, and they put a collection of sleep-related literature in the room to get you more tired and in the mood to sleep. Brandon says AI for deeper sleep is interesting. Jay says, when I'm in California, I bring my own pillow. Gene, thank you, Gene, for telling me what the J stands for. We have Points Traveler says, when should we expect the Yellow Productions Four Seasons Beverly Hills review? You know, the price of the Beverly Hills Four Seasons, I might have to start a GoFundMe so that I can make that video. Only kidding, but I've got no points to stay at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills, and so that one might take a while. Unless any of you work at the Four Seasons and you want to invite me to come, in that case, I will totally make a video. All right, the 9th trend we're going to see in 2023 is we're going to see more digital nomads, more people who are working remotely and working remotely from around the world with long-term stays in places rather than short-term stays. The term before that was like combining business and leisure travel, sometimes people would use the term bleisure, again, business plus leisure, but now it's the other way around. It's combining travel that is for leisure and then doing business while you're there, since there are a lot of people that, Silicon Valley tech companies, not the people who work at Twitter, but a lot of the other people who have been determined to be 100% fully remote workers. The trend that we saw in 2021 and 2022, we saw people moving out of the big cities into the suburbs, into the mountains, but really with more companies formalizing this remote work policy, I think we're going to see more people that just decide that where they live is the world and moving about the world with no real home. So I expect a lot of these nomads to be finding long-term accommodations in places like Airbnbs, which might make it more expensive or competitive for you. And I also expect to see more hotels embracing the concept of working in hotels, providing more desks, better internet, things like that. Because if you're actually working from a hotel, you know what, that desk chair needs to be good. There's a YouTuber I follow who's taken this digital nomad approach, Jason Vong, who's in Japan. And one of the things he said he really complained about is he's like, someone who edits videos all day is the chairs are just not very good in hotels. And he's like, his back is killing him after sitting at those hotel chairs for so long. Mark says, do you know of hotels who offer good deals for nomads? I don't have any off the top of my head, but I am seeing a lot of hotels offering significantly more long-term stay rates. And Jenny Fide says, I made it for the live stream. Welcome, Jenny Fide. Happy New Year to you. The 10th big travel trend we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see cruises returning, but we're also going to see more young people going on cruises. And in particular, not just young people going on cruises, but young people going on long-term cruises. A new trend. It's started for the past while, but it's getting a resurgence again. Are cruise ships basically offering their rooms not as, you book it for a week, but that you book it for a year or you buy it out for longer. And there was recently a story of somebody who works for Facebook, Meta. It was like he's younger than 30, something like that, and he bought one of these condos on this ship that's being built in 2025 called the MV Narrative for like $1 million, so that he can work from the cruise ship and then see the world as he works remotely. Although one of the things that talked about in that article was, people who do that, they're often going to have to work, like if they have a company like Facebook they work the hours of their own company. So if he's cruising around Europe, he'll have to be up at odd hours in the night. But then, maybe that makes it easy to wake up early and see destinations right when they're open. Dining with Derek says he heard about the story. And Barbara says pricing is up on cruises because more people are coming back to it. And Kathy says, yay, I have 4 cruises booked at the moment. By the way, if you haven't noticed, Kathy from Australia changed her channel name, Totally Diamond Paintings. Her picture's still the same. So this is the Kathy y'all know and love. All right. The 11th trend we're going to see in 2023 is we're going to see airlines starting to focus on business travel again, because business travel is going to come back more in 2023 than it has in the last couple years. What does that mean? It means that airlines are going to start repurposing their flights or routes or planes to focus more on the business destinations where they make more money than on the leisure destinations where they moved some of their planes around to, since there was no traffic to the business destinations. Case in point, a flight that we really enjoyed during the pandemic was from our home airport, John Wayne Orange County Airport, to Honolulu, Hawaii. United added that in 2021. But just recently, last month, they've repurposed that plane that was flying Orange County to Honolulu to now fly Orange County to Newark, because that's where business travelers go, and they make more money on the Orange County Newark flights than they do on the Orange County Honolulu flights. The 12th trend we're going to see in 2023 for travel is that you'll be able to travel using cryptocurrency. I mean, I know like cryptocurrency is this, it's either awesome for people who make a lot of money on it, it's awful for people who lost a lot of money on it, or it's some dark voodoo art that, people stay away from. But with so many people investing in crypto and having holdings in cryptocurrency, the travel industry has taken notice, and travel providers are now accepting it as a way to try to garner new customers. In particular, there's a company called Soneva Resorts in Thailand and the Maldives, hotels that you can now book with your Bitcoin. Number 13 is Asia travel is going to begin to recover, albeit slowly. Some countries still have mask mandates of some form. In particular, in Japan, they're still masking up quite a bit. What is this picture right here? This picture was when we were in Haneda Airport in February of 2020, right as Japan was shutting down. We were coming back home, and boy, that airport was empty. I've never seen Haneda so empty. China has announced they are reopening for travel January 8th, here in 5 days. And so if you're going to China, you'll be able to go to China quarantine-free now, which also means they're opening up China for Chinese citizens to get passports again and start traveling outside of the country, which means you're going to see Chinese travelers again in destinations around the world. I should point out, if you are planning to visit China, you may require a COVID test coming back to your home country, because many countries, the US in particular, Japan in particular, have instituted COVID testing requirements from any travelers coming from or even connecting through Chinese airports. For a lot of Asia destinations, you can still find cheap flights, and so now's a good time to go. A lot of people think everybody's back in Japan, but from the people I've talked to that are there or have been there, they said the tourists just they're not there yet. They haven't started coming back. So take a look at some of those Asia destinations, because the prices are inexpensive. Jordan says Japan's mask mandate is voluntary. All right, thank you for that one, Jordan. But I think it's one of those where it's voluntary, but like 99.9% of the people are wearing masks. And so if you're the one that isn't, that's likely you're likely going to be the one that everybody gives the stink eye to. But I don't know if that's going to be, will that be the new trend in Japan? Because they've always loved masks. I'm curious, what do you all think? Or is that are they going to go back to some level of normalcy on, like bare faces again? But the mask thing, you say like in New York City airports, you still have to wear your mask in JFK and LaGuardia, even though New York City as a whole removed the mask mandate. The airports are still requiring masks. The 14th trend that we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see valet parking really start to make a comeback. It's been coming back slowly in 2022, but valet parking is going to be back in 2023 because valet parking makes hotels a lot of money. So that's why it's going to come back. This picture right here, this is a picture in Venice Beach of a marijuana shop that gives valet parking. That's right. You can valet park to get your marijuana in Venice Beach right here at the Greenhouse Smoke Shop. Point Traveler thinks that Japan is never going to give up the masks. Brandon agrees. And then Jordan says valet parking is an American thing. Not just an American thing. I feel like valet parking is a thing in big cities where there often is no parking. By the way, I really I dislike valet parking. I don't like valet parking. So, when I review hotels, if valet parking is the only option, it's getting some negative topers in that. Hotel Production TV says, I've been to that greenhouse smoke shop and the parking sucks. Hence the valet parking. That's right. Everything on Abbot Kinney Boulevard, where that place is, the parking is really far away. And Barbara says it'll be interesting to see how the testing of Chinese passengers affects the numbers. It'll probably keep it a bit lower, but I think particularly for the Chinese citizens, they've been locked up for so long. I'm pretty sure they're eager to get out, so I'm sure they'll be happy to go through no end of hoops to jump through to go out and see the world again. The 15th trend we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see the junk resort fees continue to expand. We're going to see junk resort fees, destination fees, whatever these things are called, but fees that aren't taxes and aren't the room rate. They're just more money. We're going to see more hotels, and we're going to see more creative names, amenity fees, but of course you don't get any more amenities. And we're going to see more hotels charging fees for paying with a credit card or a debit card. Or I think you get a discount if you pay for cash. It's the price if you pay with cash. Who pays with cash at a hotel? But it's just another way for the hotels to grab a bit more money above and beyond their advertised rates. This was something I was hit with when I was in Sydney, Australia. They're like, hey, it's an extra 2 or 3%, to process your card transaction. Great. I did not bring thousands of Australian dollars to check into my hotel room. I'm like, maybe I should have just went to the ATM, grabbed a bunch out, and be like, can I pay you with this to avoid those fees? The 16th trend is airline lounges in airports. Airport lounges, they are going to continue to be overcrowded and maybe become even more crowded than they have been. The secret of airline lounges is out, and airline lounges used to be an oasis of calm for frequent flyers and premium class flyers, but now so many people can get in to these lounges just by having a credit card, because the airlines and the people who operate these lounges said, well, we can make a lot more money if we can sell a lot more lounge access to people, and they don't really use it. But it turns out people are getting that access and they're using it. And so a lot of airline and airport lounges, particularly the Delta lounges, have had hours-long waits. And if you only have a 3-hour connection, you can't wait 2 hours to get in the lounge, because then you don't have any time to eat or enjoy it anymore. Amex lounges, I really enjoy the American Express Centurion lounges when I can get in and when I can find a seat. But now at many of those lounges, they've instituted wait lists. Where was I recently? I was at a Centurion lounge. I was at the one in, what airport was I in? This story would be better if I remembered what city I was in. Problem is, too many cities. But I was at an Amex lounge in Seattle, Washington. And I go to the Amex lounge and I'm like, hey, I show my platinum card to get in the lounge. And they're like, oh, there's a wait list. Yeah, give us your phone number and we'll text you when you'll be able to get in. I'm like, how long's the wait? And they're like, about an hour. I'm like, well, my flight leaves in an hour and a half. So I think they texted me in about 15 minutes. I went into the lounge for 5 minutes to get some quick food and board my flight. But it has left the realm of relaxing and enjoyable in the airline lounges. But to clamp down on this, many lounges and lounge access providers are clamping down on lounge access policies, like how early you can get in, how many guests you can bring in. So we'll see how much that actually affects the crowding in 2023. We're going to see more lounge coming online too. Capital One and Chase are opening new lounges, so maybe there will be more places for people to sit as well. Gene says, good to know about lounges. We used to love them. Yeah, and I think now you just actually can't count on being able to get in and enjoy. You need to have like a backup plan. When we were flying from Vancouver, in the Air Canada lounge in Vancouver Airport, no place to sit, like completely full. I had to like eat on the side of a counter someplace. Redco says they need to remove the priority pass crowd. And then Joe says in February, only the card holder can enter the Centurion Lounge, no to guests. Frank says Southwest desperately needs a lounge, particularly for all the people on the canceled flight, so they'd have some place to sleep. Boston Elevator says the last Marriott property I stayed at had a $25 destination fee. Is this the way of a resort fee? Yes, that's a resort fee of another name. That's for a hotel that they don't consider themselves to be a resort. There's like no pools or something, so they call it a destination fee instead. The 17th thing that's going to be a trend in 2023 is we're going to feature more of MacGyver the Bunny. Here's MacGyver the Bunny. He's been wanting to come on these live streams for a while. Woo! As he makes a big leap because the ground was short enough. All right, so here he is, and there he goes back into his hangout right here. By the way, if you haven't seen my video on my studio tour, you'll know Bunny hangs out right here. It's starting to rain outside here in Orange County, so MacGyver's come back in. So if you hear some scratching in the background, it's because, well, it's a little wet out there. We didn't want the bunny to get too wet. All right, so number 17 is that elite status qualification is going to be back to normal for hotels and airlines, because nobody was flying, nobody was staying in hotels. They really lowered these requirements, sometimes being half or a third. But I don't know, I feel like elite status is barely becoming worth it anymore. I've always been a big fan of elite status with airlines and hotels, with getting a lot of great perks, and I've been on that treadmill for a long time. I'm not sure if that treadmill is worth it anymore, because the benefits don't seem to be worth the treadmill. Breakfast at hotels becomes worse, the upgrades on airlines become less, the lounges become less, and then the points are worth less to redeem for things later. And hotels with these award programs, particularly, they've been starting to play a lot of games with award availability, where hotels will advertise, oh, free nights all year round, no blackout dates. Except you can only redeem your awards on standard rooms at the hotel, and then the hotel goes like, we have 800 rooms, but only 10 of them are standard. And by the way, the standard rooms are the ones that look out on the air conditioning condenser above the parking garage. Those are the standard rooms. Those you can book with your points. All the other ones you gotta pay for. You're like, really? And it's like, really? The other trend in elite programs is hotels have been playing games with what constitutes the free breakfast you might get as an elite member. In particular, Marriott, the Marriott in Vail is famous for having this $18 upcharge for coffee and juice. You get free breakfast as a Marriott Titanium member, but if you want coffee and juice, it's going to cost you more. Really? Really? I will say Hyatt is the one hotel chain that I think is still doing breakfast right for elite members. Hyatt Globalists receive daily complimentary breakfast that Hyatt specifies is a full breakfast, which includes one entree or a breakfast buffet, juice and coffee, and tax, gratuity, and service charges. They like spell that out in there, so it's actually truly a free breakfast. And then at Hyatt's, then they also go on to specify that it's up to 2 adults and 2 children per room. We've also been loving Fairmont hotels lately, particularly booked with the American Express Fine Hotels and Resorts rate, which basically at Fairmont's gives us all the things that we would get as an elite member at any other hotel. Free breakfast, upgrades to rooms, early check-in, late checkout. And so it's one where we're like, I don't know, don't need to be on the treadmill, and instead can just enjoy the benefits without having to be on it. Yeah, Michael says, traveling is turning into video game downloadable content. You want extra perks, pay up. Yep, they're trying to monetize everything. And Barbara says it's sad that Hyatt has to detail all of that. It is, because, the way these hotels work, right, is that these big brands, they sort of like, they're franchises. And so people can buy the franchise and operate the hotel. And then they're like, well, the Vail Hotel, they're like trying to figure out, how can we make the most money? Because the brands only give them, say $7 for every free breakfast that an elite member eats. Well, I mean, it's just good business if you're paying $600 for a room to give free breakfast, frankly. All right, I am thirsty. What am I drinking today? Today I am drinking this guava mango guayusa from 7 Teas, which it's really quite tasty. We picked this up at Whole Foods. Yeah, Heather also likes Fairmont and said another hotel once gave us each a half banana and a half Costco muffin. That's like an insult type of breakfast. Really. The 18th trend we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see long-term planning return. We're going to see people starting to plan trips, not just for 2023, but 2024, 2025. You know, Kathy said she's got a whole bunch of cruises booked. I bet those are all next year. I bet they're further out. And so people are seeing enough normalcy return that they're starting to plan their trips years out again. And by the way, pictured here, this is the traveling princess at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, where we were there maybe 3 weeks ago. We picked up a map as we came in. She wanted to see the map. She just turned 3, wanted to see the map. She studies the map and then points at it and says, I want to go here. I'm like, what is it? It's the carousel. I want to go here. I want to go to the carousel. Anyway, we spent, that was the last thing we went to do. But she is now the navigator of the family to let us know where we need to go, and loves looking at the maps, particularly when there's a carousel on the map. The 19th trend we're going to see in 2023, we're going to see Airbnbs become significantly more expensive than hotels. More people are going to be traveling and want more space, want something where they're not staying with everybody else, want something more unique for their first trip they're taking in a while. Maybe they're traveling with a bigger family group, and so Airbnbs are no longer going to be the value that they have been in days past, particularly with more Airbnb owners adding their own junk cleaning fees or things you need to do when you check it, like you need to clean it yourself. So don't think that Airbnbs used to be as cheap as they used to be. And the 20th trend that we're going to see in 2023 is we're going to see Yellow Productions continuing to serve up fun, informative, and entertaining content. And yes, there will be no inflation on the price of Yellow Productions content.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, fellow explorers, it is Q&A time. If you've got a question that I didn't answer because you asked it before, go ahead and ask it again. If you've got a new question, ask it. Please put a question mark at the end of the question so I know it's a question. If you're watching the archive, well, ask a question there too, because I'm always in the comment sections of the archives answering questions. And did you see a travel trend coming up that I missed? If so, let me know what other travel trends you think are out there. Lisa said the last Airbnb we stayed in, we booked through an HOA company, and there were dirty socks in one of the beds. Gross. Housekeeping, not just bad at hotels, but at Airbnbs too. What's my favorite airline to fly in? My favorite airline to fly in is Singapore Airlines, although United is the airline that I fly the most. Michael Yip says, did Waikiki always have resort fees? I just got back from Hyatt, and the resort fee was approaching $60 a night. Crazy! And the answer is no. Waikiki did not always have resort fees. Nowhere always had resort fees. It's becoming this awful trend of more and more places having more resort fees, the price continuing to go up. It's the scourge of the hotel industry. Alan says, thoughts on booking a timeshare sales presentation? Don't. That's my perspective. Points Traveler says, are you still holding off on traveling to Japan? Currently, we are still holding off on traveling to Japan. Bo says, do you have any RV travels in the future? Not in the immediate future. I'm not averse to RV travel, but it's just something we haven't done yet. Dining with Derek says, what's the best way to get money in Japan? Use your ATM card use your ATM card or debit card to get money out at an ATM at 7-Eleven convenience stores. That's the best way to get money in Japan. Frank says, how do you feel about concierge levels in hotels? Depends where I'm staying, but if I'm in a remote place, like for example Whistler in the mountains, I really like the concierge level in the hotel because I really like the concierge lounge. Being in a remote place where it's hard to get to food, then that's really important. If I'm in Tokyo where there's a ton of food everywhere, then I don't think the concierge level is a great value because I'm not going to be spending a lot of time eating in that lounge. Another place we really found the concierge lounges nice was in Switzerland because everything's so expensive in Switzerland, like, a Coke, $7, a coffee $7. So just being able to go in the lounge and get some of those things was well worth it. Paint Killer says, I really like your detailed planning videos. Any plans to make more? Yes. Which ones do you want to see? Electric Rick says, have you found any hotel rooms with sleep sounds, sound machines, things like, or snoring? Yeah, have I found any that have a... No, but I have found some that do have some like sleep sounds you can put on. Jorge says, is there any way to save money for a trip to Hawaii? Thank you for all my help. Jorge, watch my cheap eats in Waikiki video. That's a great way to save money in Hawaii. Hotel Productions asks if I've ever flown Air New Zealand. Not yet. Art says, my daughter Annika wants to ask, why do you travel so much? We love travel. We love new experiences. We love seeing the world. We love seeing it on a lens of actually being there. And then we love helping other travelers with their travels. So that's why we like to travel so much. I probably have a whole live stream I did on like why I love to travel. But Annika, thank you for asking that question. That is the short answer. HG Man says, a big travel trend I've seen lately is hotels, resorts, and other travel-related establishments which don't accept cash. It seems like cash is becoming like not money anymore. Like you can't use it a lot of places, and indeed that is true. Brooklyn Joe says, do you think flights to Europe in the summer will drop? I don't think so, because I think demand will go up in summer, and so I think the prices in summer will continue to be high. Let's see. Cottage Full of Love says, I hope you haven't been affected by these wild storms and flooding. We've been drowning. Yeah, I heard there was like, 5 inches of rain in a day or something that came. I mean, something crazy, right? But no, it's not been that bad down here. Barbara says, I'm off work today. Finally able to join a live stream. Awesome, Barbara. Darkson says, Happy New Year. What are your thoughts on status mask challenges, and will you ever do something around this topic? That's a good idea, Darkson. I'll consider that in my topic list. I've done a number of status match challenges. I think they're a good way to get you some status quick, but you just have to make sure you have enough travel plans to like keep you at that level or take you to the next level or meet the challenge. Frank says, do you recommend third-party booking? Here's my it depends. I've done the Amex Fine Hotels Resorts program. That's a third-party booking. That's worked out for some good perks. When we go to Japan, I often do third-party booking because I can often find them cheaper on some of the third-party sites, and some of the hotel sites don't provide English or aren't very easy to book, or the room descriptions aren't very good. But if you're looking at a Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, if you're looking at one of the big American chains, then it's almost always better to book direct. But like I say, in Japan or some other countries that aren't the US, the third-party booking sites can be pretty good. Lisa says, what do you think of the new Vegas fee for checking in before check-in time? It's lame. It's really lame. It's just another, be like, oh, you're here at 2 o'clock. Do you want to get in your room? I mean, it's ready, but it'll be $50 if you want to get into it, or you can come back at 4. Lame. L-A-M-E. Lame. Janice says, the recent travel trend I'm discovering is people no longer use headphone jacks on planes, trains, and airport gate areas. They just play their music and movies for all to hear. It does seem like I've been seeing that more now, but I guess I've been hearing that more now. It does seem like that is more and more prevalent. I wonder why. Is it just because people, they don't think sound pollution is an issue? Or one person does it on the plane and nobody tells them to stop, and so then everybody else does it. Yes, Derek wants to remind you all, and I appreciate it, Derek. If you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button. There's 268 of you on the live stream right now, 113 likes. I'd love if we could get that up to 150. Every like that you provide on this video goes to feed a piece of premium bamboo to the Yellow Productions crew. Tells YouTube you love this video to spread it to more people. And so thank you in advance. It really helps if you're watching the archive too. Heather Angel Light says, what part of OC is the best for a visitor? Most people in Orange County come to Anaheim. They come to Disneyland. But if you like beaches, Laguna Beach is a pretty awesome place. Newport Beach is a pretty awesome place. Huntington Beach is a pretty great place too. So that's my top 4 cities for visitors in Orange County. Roger says, not true about New York. See, that doesn't mean they don't have a mandate, though. Like LAX had it for a long time, too, where LAX had signs saying masks required. And it was the same way that you described. No one was wearing them, and it wasn't enforced. But it didn't affect the fact that the airport still had a policy, too. Phil says, what's the best neighborhood to stay in Boston for my first trip? I would say if you can stay like right around Boston Common, like that's a great place to stay because then you can walk kind of the main trail, like the main tourist beat that's there. Yeah, because getting around Boston isn't super great. Like it's a good walkable city, but I don't really love the subway that they have there. It's kind of dark and old and dingy, and driving in Boston is great. Heather says, thanks, Michael. We don't need Disney and love beaches. Any place on the beach that's good. Yeah, and I think, there we go. I think Heather says, I just liked. There you go. Marco says, what is Chris currently listening to on his choice of streaming platforms? My choice of streaming platform is YouTube Music. I pay for YouTube Premium, so that's the YouTube without ads, which then comes with YouTube Music. Because it was Christmas time, I was listening to a lot of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. There we go. Darkson asks if I have any favorite audio podcasts for travel. None. I have no favorite audio podcast for travel. If there's one I should be listening to, please let me know. I would encourage you probably do this already, but you can certainly listen to these Yellow Productions live streams as audio guides too. Wages says, what are good places to go if we find ourselves in Japan during Golden Week? Japan's a huge place. So, I like temples. A lot of people go to temples. I mean, the issue is you need to go places that are open, So I would really think about going to natural destinations, mountainous destinations, places that aren't going to close so much. Jenny Fide says, my stepsister and her hubby go to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra every year. We love the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. We used to go see it every year. Now with the Traveling Princess, we are waiting till we think she's a little bit old enough so we can go back to see the Trans-Siberian Orchestra again. Mars says, any trips planned for this month? Have you been to Idlewild during the winter? I am going to the California Central Valley a little later this month. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll recall that in February of last year, we did a series in California's Central Valley, checking out the almond blossoms. I'm working on a audio driving tour of Modesto, California, and also a mural tour. There's like downtown Modesto has this really cool public art, and so I'm going to be up there doing some research for that audio driving guide if you ever find yourselves in Modesto. Yaya says, do you offer consultation, like one-on-one type advice? Not a service I've offered this far, but I guess I could. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Art says, why go to Korea when Japan exists? I'm just going to go ahead and leave that question to ponder. But I will say one of the reasons to go to Korea when Japan exists is for kimchi. If you like kimchi, Korea doesn't do it better. Gene says Idlewild is not in the Central Valley, and Jenny Fight says the movie theater in Modesto is beautiful. Art asks if Bakersfield is weird. Bakersfield is weird, yeah. And Joe asks if my Arizona trip is canceled for good. Canceled for now. I'm sure we're going to make it back to Arizona, but we're not. We couldn't reschedule the flights. Ran out of holiday time here in the new year. So we're going to have to do Sedona and Phoenix some other time. Harry asks, what's the best place to stay in Glendale, California? I recently stayed at a Hyatt Place in Glendale. That was quite nice. Search for my review. Hyatt Place, Glendale, Yellow Productions. Find it. I think you'll like it. It's like 2 or 3 blocks from the main kind of like shopping area. The only thing that was kind of weak at that hotel was the parking situation. Fisher says almost 300,000. What are we up to now? 282 says the counter. So that is pretty exciting. That'll be another trend in 2023. Fingers crossed to reach 300,000 subscribers. Thanks for every one of you that have hit that subscribe button.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, in every live stream, I always give away a t-shirt, and in 2023, I'm going to be back to giving out the Yellow Productions Crew logo t-shirt. So if you want to win a Yellow Productions Crew t-shirt with your name on it, not your name on it, but your name will be on the package when I send it to you, then you have to answer one of my questions correctly. And my question for you is, what hiking trail did I talk about first that now requires reservations for it? If you're the first person to answer that question, I will ship a Yellow Productions Crew shirt to you anywhere in the world. And if you aren't lucky enough to win one, well, you can pick one up over there at the Yellow Productions shop. You'll find a link in the description below to that address. And if you're wondering when is the next live stream, sometime next week. I haven't picked the day yet, but head over to update.yellow-productions.com and you can sign up for the mailing list where I'll notify you as soon as I've picked the date and the topic.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Congratulations to Michael Yip. You are the first person to answer Diamond Head. There were many correct answers that came up, but Michael, send me an email, chris@yellow-productions.com. You'll find that in the description. Also, let me know your size and your address, and I will get it right to you. Second place goes to Michael, traveling the world, and third place goes to Bo, but Michael Yip, second place goes to Alan, third place goes to Garrett, fourth goes to Michael, fifth goes to Bo. My screen scrolled a little bit. Hello, fellow explorers. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. I hope you have lots of great travels in 2023. I hope your new year is off to a great start. Maybe you're watching the archive and you're halfway through the year now, and so I hope your first 6 months of the year are off to a great start. And with that, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video.